Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Cairo. This is the Mindmeld Live with Shell Protocol. This is the first one of these we've done in a few weeks. So welcome back, everybody. We are very excited to be here talking to you. We've got Kenny, we've got Viraz, whom you know, we've got Austin Griffith, and yeah, we're going to be talking about building in Web3. We're going to be talking about the state of Shell. We're going to be talking about lots of fun stuff. So I am going to pass it off to Kenny, our founder, to introduce this episode.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. Today we got Austin Griffith, who is a legendary builder in the space. Founder, I believe, of Buidlguidl. Okay, yeah, Buidlguidl. He's been a great educator. I feel like a lot of people get inspired to start building smart contracts and building Web3 dApps in the space because of Austin and all the content he's created and all the great mentorship he's provided, and it's a real honor for us to have him on the podcast. Austin, welcome.
What's up? Thanks
Aloha,
for
as
having
we
me.
like to say.
I will say, by the way, for those of you listening live, we are opening up our Mindmeld chat channel in our Discord. So if you want to ask questions, comments, follow along, say anything your heart desires, come on over to the Shell Protocol Discord and jump into that Mindmeld chat channel. And we will be there reading your questions. If you are listening after the fact, we may have a visual component to this segment, so you may want to consider watching on YouTube. But we'll try to also lay everything out for those of you on audio. Okay, the chat rooms are open. We are waiting for your call. All right.
One place we like to start, Austin, with all our guests is kind of their like journey into Web3. Like, how did you where did you start, and what are the steps and milestones you took to get to where you are today?
I feel like I've been in the space long enough now for a couple booms and busts. I think I came in and, started learning in 2016, started building in 2017, but the stuff I was building didn't resonate until probably 2018 or 2019. And I think that's just a testament to how complicated and interesting the space is and how much time it takes for you to get context and go through a tour of duty. My tour of duty was building like tools for myself. Like Truffle was okay, but wasn't great back in the day. I needed orchestration software. I needed ways to deploy apps. So I spent a lot of time building those tools. And along the way, I learned about kind of a form of account abstraction called meta transactions. And I showed off like these things already existed. They were already in the Gnosis Safe and the Uport stuff. My claim to fame on meta transactions was just like showing them off and making them really easy to use. And I realized that like this is a thing that the ecosystem needs, is like someone who can take these complex concepts and explain them in a approachable way, and then make a nice starter kit that allows someone, anyone to fork that thing and make something with it. Then after meta transactions, I built the burner wallet at ETH Denver, where you could scan a coin and you just had a wallet. It was in a browser, so there was no like app to download, no mnemonic to save. Basically, your coin was your mnemonic, and you use that to pay for food at the food trucks. And it was on a side chain, so it was fast and cheap. And just everyone kind of had this experience of self-custody, having those funds on a phone, buying actual food for it, like real mainstream, like actual mainstream stuff. And then there was kind of a slew of things. ETH.build is like a tool that I use to teach, and that led to Scaffold ETH, and then that's a tool to build things. That led to Speedrun Ethereum, which is a curriculum around Scaffold ETH, teaching a new developer kind of how to go from Web 2 to Web 3. And then now kind of the Build Guild is kind of almost like a grant giving organization or an incentivization layer around all that stuff I already explained. And so my real getting in, my long-winded story of getting into the space was it took a long time, and I had to build a lot of tools. and I had to find where my place was within the space, but the space is also very complex, and it took a long time to figure out the context I needed to be able to build things that were important to people. Sorry for the long-winded one.
Do you think there was a unique role that these in-person events played in providing like a feedback loop for you in finding that fit?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I first went to ETH Denver in 2018,
Mm.
I was arrogant. Like I thought I knew Ethereum and I thought I knew how to build, and I went in with an app. I had this app called Gallias, which was this like hand painted resource management game. The ERC 721 standard had just come out and it uses it. There's like a whole game of ERC 20s and ERC 721s, kind of like Catan. And I thought I was going to show people how good I was and like, check this out, y'all should hire me. And it was not like that. Like, I got a healthy dose of holy shit, these people are way smarter than I am. And also, there's this new ethos, this kind of building an open, regenerative kind of ethos from all the way back to 2018, and that like changed everything for me. That was like it really, I think I used the term, it was my whetstone, because it really kind of sharpened me a lot, and let me know like you're not a great builder that you think you are. You're just getting started. And there's kind of like that kind of like the Dunning-Kruger effect, when you realize you're kind of actually like really, you just have enough knowledge to know you don't know everything. And an in-person event where I can be like, yo, check out this cool app I built, and someone can be like, yo, that's awesome, here's the like scaling I'm working on for Ethereum. And it's like, oh shit, this is like way bigger stuff. I have a stupid ship game and you are changing the topology of Ethereum, and there's a lot bigger things. So long-winded again, I need to quit being so long-winded with my responses, but yeah, for sure, like
That's the
in-person
way we
events,
roll on this show.
for sure. Awesome, yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people here like listening to us and seeing our faces, but I think ultimately they're here for you. And so the more words you use, I think the happier I'm going to be, and probably the audience as well. Oh, what is that? Oh, is
Oh,
that
we got
like a
Buffalo.
popcorn?
Little speedrun Ethereum Buffalo. Go speedrun Ethereum and you can get one of those NFTs.
Nice.
Kenny, can you bump your volume at all? Andy was asking. By the way, we have Andy and Kim here, two of our regulars. Welcome, guys.
Is there like a way of bumping the? Maybe I can just, if I talk louder, does that help?
Yeah, I think that's the old school way to do it.
As I don't know how to increase the mic sensitivity, at
All right.
least to do that. Yeah, I
Oh,
think it's
yeah, you
already,
are a little low. I can see that.
it's maxed out, I think,
It's
for
maxed
me.
out. Okay. Thank you, Kim, for the
Yeah.
buffalo. Yeah. Okay. It looks like it's pretty good.
Okay. Talking louder did the trick.
So, Viraz, you were saying that you and Austin go back a couple of years, which is like a couple centuries in DeFi. That's pretty crazy. How was that experience, and how has it contributed to where you are now, I guess?
Yeah, so I think I remember when I sort of joined in, like came into the space. This was again like 2 years back, and Austin used to, he used to post these tweets that people can just DM him and get on a call and just get up to speed in terms of how a full end-to-end DApp works. And I remember DMing him, and he was so kind, and we got on a call very quickly after that, and then. I think I remember we built a ERC20 token on that call, and then yeah, it was just amazing to just gain his insight and learn from him, and then just do some more like some open source development at Buidlguidl, being part of the community there, and building these prototypes, and I mean just gave me more confidence in terms of how I would go about building a real world dApp which could be useful to people, and that's been the case I think with everyone who's been part of the Buildgirl community, where you do the speed run thing, right, and then you get up to speed and you start building up prototypes which are useful, and you can then plug them into other dApps, and use and do mix and match and stuff. So yeah, and that journey was really nice and gave me, yeah, a lot of boost, I would say, and pretty grateful for that to Austin and the community as well. Sure.
I guess from the other side, Austin, how is it making yourself so accessible to the community and to, current and aspiring developers? Do you get like just random ass people following you around, or I mean, do you meet friends for life? Like, what's the vibe?
Generally good vibe. I think that like
Good.
I definitely still have my DMs very open, and you could hit me up on Twitter. But the kind of the mentorship that Viraz got was when I was a little smaller, and I could do one-on-one videos with everyone who reached out. At this
Hmm.
point, you have to go through Speedrun Ethereum, and if you go through, I'm just going to share my screen. I feel like there's enough to talk about here that I'm going to show
Go for it.
a window here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
So speed run Ethereum, right? You guys see speed run Ethereum? Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
now to get on a call with me, you need to get in here and you need to build a few things, right? You need to build a simple NFT, you need to build a staking app, you need to build a token vendor, just a handful of apps to prove that you at least know some of the basics, and then we can get on a call and talk. So I still do have the DMs open and do mentorship sessions, but it's at a different point of the developer journey, right? At that point, it was very early, and I was showing Viraz like an
Yeah.
ERC20 token. By the time you're talking to me at this point, you know how to build a simple DEX and a multi-sig, right? And so my mentorship has changed, but just because we have like more, there's more async content available to give you those aha moments that we had on a mentorship session, but going through these challenges sort of asynchronously. But then once you get that far, like I'm on mentorship sessions all the time with people. I wanted to show Viraz's profile here. So if I go to the Buidlguidl app, which is like a Web3 app where you connect your wallet and everything,
Uh-huh.
if I go look at Viraz, I can see a handful of things here, right? And so if I scroll all the way to the bottom, what he was talking about the speed run. Oh, we don't see your speed run in here. He did the speed run so long ago that we don't even see his speed run. But let's just go look at a random builder here. Here, look at this random builder here. Has gone through these challenges, right? They've just finished the third dice challenge, and if there's a Twitter there, I'm probably going to reach out in the DMs and say, "Hey, good job, keep going," that kind of thing. But Viraz here has a couple special things. Like there's all these apps that they've built. X NFT. I don't even remember what this was, right? But it's some
Yeah, this
NFT
was
project. Public good
yeah.
staking, payment channel, researching the diamond standard, a minimal proxy, a bonding curve, NFT signatures, NFT auction, retroactive funding, and a diamond starter kit. That's a hell of a lot of builds, right? And we can look at also where he's withdrawn ETH, right? So this is how I was talking about it's an incentivization and a grant funding layer, is that builders end up getting a stream of ETH, and that stream of ETH can be unlocked month by month, and you can turn stuff in and kind of turn in whatever you are working on to get that ETH. So there's a whole kind of system around not just the tooling and the education and the mentoring, but there's an incentivization, there's a grant giving wing, thanks to folks like the Ethereum Foundation.
Fascinating. Is this, I mean, obviously, the primary result of this is people get sort of onboarded and leveled up as Web3 devs. Do you see this as, like, for example, the profiles you just showed us? Is that something that you can bring as part of your portfolio if you're, say, applying to be a Solidity dev and say, hey, I've done this, this, and this. Here are some of my creds.
Exactly. It's meant to be kind of a Web3 portfolio. It's like, hey, I've gone through the tour of duty. I know all of this stuff. I know how to build it. I can prove that to you by just going to this website that shows, it's an open source website with everything tracked, all your tests, all your builds. So
Yeah,
it's definitely like kind of like a LinkedIn of Web3 in a weird way. It's sort of like Khan Academy meets LinkedIn for Web3.
yeah. Well, it certainly, I would say, generates a ton of value for the broader community.
Hopefully.
In that way, it does come off. It's almost altruistic, in how much you're supporting Web3. Kenny, did you have anything specific you wanted to jump into with this?
Yeah, well, one thing that I think is really cool about Biddle, that's a little
Yeah,
bit
I
of a
just say
tongue
build
twister for
guild.
me.
I think it's Build Guild.
One thing I think is really cool about the work that Austin has been doing in the space for, I guess, almost over 5 years now, um, is that like this sort of this realization that I had a few years ago that the best like Web3 devs like aren't in Web3 yet. And that was definitely true 5 years ago. I think it's still kind of true today, just in terms of like numbers. Like if you just think about how, because like we've been in this like Web3 bubble for a while now, so it feels like, oh, it's grown so much, it's so big compared to what it used to be. But when you think about how big Web3 is compared to like other like tech industries, you realize like it's still fairly small and fairly niche. Um, and I think what's really important is like onboarding more devs, getting more like smart people building in the space, because that's I think there's so much potential and opportunity. The more people we can attract, like the better like the space is going to be in the long term. And I think probably like 10 years from now, like we'll look back on like who are like some of like the elite Web3 devs, and I bet a lot of them are gonna get have gotten their start with the biddle.
Hopefully. Yeah. I think that like there's probably like an elite level of builder that can go through my content in like 2 days and just move on to bigger, better pastures. And we have here, I'll share another screen. I have this like Ethereum dev tech tree that I've been working on here. And
Interesting.
it's yeah, it's really crazy looking. It's kind of like this is my Charlie explanation of this thing, right? What it's like after, I mean, like before the speed run, there's a lot of like concepts you learn within
Yeah.
Ethereum. And then once you go through the speed run, there's kind of like all these areas of different things that you can build depending on like zero knowledge or public goods funding mechanisms, decentralized science, and oracles and ERC20s and tokenization. Like you kind of have to learn where's price function. You kind of have to learn like a decentralized exchange, and then if you have a price function proposal says, I don't know, I'm lost in my own graph. But this is like a great way to figure out what's next to build. And when I think of like really good builders, I think that they should quest through a lot of these, but I've compressed it down to something that looks more like this. And it's sort of like after you do speedrun Ethereum, you should build your own CLI. And there's a handful of things in here like making your own Merkle NFT. They're just like super handy. You should know how to make a Merkle tree and provide the proof that settles on chain that proves that you're in a list without having the whole list stored. There's just lots of cool mechanics here. I guess I started this by saying like really good devs will come through this in a couple of days. Where I want them to end up is out here. Like thankfully, the ecosystem has evolved so much over the last few years that things like the auditing ecosystem have just exploded, and you can go to things like Code Arena and make a small gas change and actually get paid for it. There's content for learning the EVM deeper. There's the Ethernaut for learning more challenges, right? There's just a lot of good stuff in the space now, and a lot of good examples of applications, right? If you haven't yet, go learn about Dark Forest. The game Dark Forest that was played. It uses ZK proofs. It's played on a sidechain, but it's like getting close to this mainstream user stuff with privacy or ZK for compression, or DAOs and Gnosis safes and account abstraction. There's all sorts of neat stuff here, and the really good devs will go through speedrun Ethereum very quickly and move on to one of these places in the ecosystem that's luckily not made by me, right? There's other people kind of down the road that have made the next steps that are like way awesome and way better, and just like just to speak to the space more, people like Patrick from Chainlink and Natter and all these new DevRels coming into the space, they do DevRel way better than I do DevRel, right? The space has grown, it's gone through another kind of big bull run and brought in a new set of fresh, awesome faces that are just like better at education and better at building. So I agree that like we will see, hopefully another wave soon of folks coming in too.
Yeah, yeah. It's this is the some in some ways talent is just a numbers game, and the more people, the more talent. which isn't to say that every dev matters, of course. I guess what was when you were starting Buidlguidl, like, oh, I said it. You starting Buidlguidl. What were you? What was your motivation? What was your vision when you were getting started? And like, how has that changed still today? Because like, the space changes, and my motivation, my vision is like definitely changed subtly over the years. And so, what was it when were getting started, and like, what is it now? Like, where do you want to take Buidlguidl? Over the next couple years.
So getting started, Build Guild was just me building random things, like building a token to show off how to make a token, and building. I think the very first version of Build Guild was a quadratic voting mechanism where everyone could send money. Like basically, I listed a bunch of projects I was thinking of working on, and then everybody could pay money in, and they could vote when they put the money in, and then I would quadratically match those and figure out what was the most important thing for the ecosystem that I'd be working on, and maybe there'd be a little bit of money there that I could like give out to other people. But that didn't really happen until Build Guild version 3, which was mostly my own money. And basically I had made that burner wallet I was talking about, and in that burner wallet there was a swap from DAI to ETH all the way back in 2019. So I had all these burner wallets laying around that got the Optimism or the Uniswap drop, which is worth like $2,000 now, right? So I had a bunch of token drops. I turned that into ETH, and then I streamed it to developers to build things. Basically, Build Guild version 3 was that, where it was like this open learning platform where people would come in, they would have a mentorship session like Viraz did. I would start streaming to them, and then they were kind of like openly invited to just contribute, find what they find is important, and withdraw from their stream when they did a contribution. And that was version 3. And sometime through version 3, the Ethereum Foundation was like, yo, Austin, you're doing some awesome stuff. We're going to send you a grant so you don't have to, keep using your own money, which is good because at the time my money was running out quickly. And it was so lucky that the Ethereum Foundation came in and gave us a grant. But now they gave us a little bit bigger grant, and we're giving grants. And this is probably to lead to your future question of what's next. Like, we want to be building tools. We want to be thinking about developer education and onboarding. We want to have like the speed run with the latest stack. But also there's this new thing of like giving grants and finding, the way I say it is we're finding up and coming high impact developers, and we're giving them a UBI like stream to contribute openly to the ecosystem. And so the EF, or Optimism Retro PGF, gives us a big chunk of money, and then we split that chunk of money into tiny streams to all these developers that we've identified as high impact and up and coming. And I think that's the sort of the future for Build Guild, is probably kind of extending this kind of developer growth idea and developer onboarding and developer education, and also providing the right incentives and help and UBI along the way for builders. So hopefully still shipping lots of cool things. I would love to see like some weird autonomous world come out of Build Guild that gets like mainstream adoption on some L2. But that's like a secondary sort of combo move. What I really want to see is lots of education, lots of open learning, and eventually more and more funding going to these up and coming high leverage devs.
So it sounds almost like a scholarship for up and coming Web3 developers.
Yep, for sure.
So it's
That's
cool
awesome.
and striking how much, well, I guess ironically the word would be trust, or at least how much goodwill and
A lot of
inclination
trust.
toward freedom there is with something like this. Like, you look at, okay, the Ethereum Foundation, obviously they want to grow the ecosystem. They could totally have looked at what Build Guild was doing and said, hey, let's spin up something just like this in-house. But they didn't. They said, we can't do it as well as this guy can, or at the very least, his passion is something that we want to empower. So we're going to put money out there. And then you're turning around, you're doing the exact same thing for devs. You're not saying, I'm going to employ and like centrally plan what you build. It's like, we're going to take people with passion and potential and let them retain the agency to like self-direct their efforts, so long as it's, open.
That's better than I could have ever said it. I should record that and start using that for Buidlguidl.
Uh,
Check out
well,
our
how has
YouTube.
that been going? I guess. How has that been? Do you have any examples of things out in the world that devs have built of their own free will while on the Build Guild dime?
For sure. There's a lot of apps. If you go to Buildguild and go to builds, you can kind of look through this giant list of things that people have built. But in terms of things that have had a lot of ecosystem impact, there's a handful of things that we don't even know about because it's all open source and asynchronous and someone can just take it and run. A lot of times people like get the stream and they build a few things and then they have fully the understanding and agency they need to go do their own thing, and a lot of them kind of disappear. And we're doing kind of like some more like case studies and trying to go talk to folks. A handful of folks have gotten hired across the space to go work at other protocols. A couple different builds. So Scaffold ETH2 came from the Build Guild. There's a Punk wallet. We built our own Scaffold wallet that's in like the App Store. You can just type in Scaffold wallet and have a wallet. And all of these are like very forkable and open source. We built this thing called ABI Ninja, which is like a front end for devs. What did I want to show? The trust thing. You were talking about trust. I wanted to share another thing here. So as we scale up and we're trying to find and fund more people, we've reached out to a couple people like Jessie from Jessie's Hacker House. I don't know if you've heard of her, but her hacker houses are amazing. She did the first one at ETH Denver in 2018, I think. No. 2020, 2021. Denver 2021, something like that.
I'm sure
And
Eliza's heard of her.
yeah. So she has done an amazing job of hosting these hacker houses. And I've been lucky enough to be able to help fund her. So we'll fund one of the houses, and then we'll meet with the moms and pops of the house after the hackathon has happened, and we'll say, how were folks? Who were the best folks? And let's get a stream of ETH going to them. So this was from the group from Denver this year. And I don't know how plugged in you guys are with like, up and coming builders, but these names are like very like they're the highlights of my Twitter feed. These are very smart up and coming folks that, haven't gotten hired to go work at Paradigm yet. And I'm lucky enough to be able to fund them to kind of like openly just work for the ecosystem before they go be a hotshot at some big spot. So this is a lot of cool builders, but I guess what I'm really leaning into is their contributions, is the trust, right? I'm trusting them. Yeah. And so there's this idea of kind of like this social, pressure to not turn in garbage. Whenever you withdraw something, you turn in, here's what I worked on, and you withdraw your funding. So people see it, right? People can tell what you've been working on because it's all on, public on chain. And what this creates is a social pressure to like not turn in garbage, right? You wanna kind of show off here and build something that's important. You're being incentivized to learn in public and build something that's the best for the ecosystem, something that's interesting for the ecosystem. And so by creating this cohort stream where we just trust folks, we find good folks, of course, but then we just trust them to kind of run with it. All of these contributions have happened from me just kind of creating this website and YOLOing some funds to. There's a ZK Crypto, there's an Autonomous Worlds, there's an Infra, there we go. So there's a bunch of these like streaming cohorts, and all of these are built with Scaffold ETH2, and they're meant to stream and fund these high impact up and coming devs. Using like there's a lot of trust involved there, right? Like we're really trusting them to run with it.
Now, are a certain amount of these people anon?
Yep. Yeah. We'll have videos where it's like just voice or something, and that's totally fine. I've had like mentorship sessions with devs who like did not show who they were, and it was really funny. I feel like one of the devs like had like cursive for their Solidity font, and I couldn't tell the whole time if I was being trolled or not. I still do not know. Like it was like I totally was on with an anon who like we had a whole mentorship session, and I've done this a lot where it's just like I don't know if that's real or not. I don't know like who I was talking to.
One thing on my bucket list for this podcast is to have somebody on who's wearing like a mask or a
Oh
disguise.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah. Or
think
just
that
have
would be
like an
pretty cool.
anime
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
screen like face over. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. It reminds me, you clearly have so much pride in these devs, and it reminds me of like a startup accelerator or something like that, watching, keeping in touch with the alumni and watching them bloom. The difference, obviously, being that you're not taking equity in these people's careers, you're just
It'd be cool if
launching
we could
them.
figure out how to do that, right? Like that is a question that's a like honestly,
Yeah.
like the best system would be for every dev that comes through to deploy their own personal token and give a little bit to the build guild
Uh-huh.
and go on their way. But if they get famous and cool, then that token has more value, then
Yeah.
the build guild gets more value and the build guild is able to give more back. But there's a lot of scary regulations there, right? Like I'm just trying to teach people through. I'm not trying to get people to YOLO a token on mainnet and maybe get in trouble with the SEC or something, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there, like in a
It
perfect world, I would love that, but I don't think that that's possible right now.
it does seem like, I mean, you're providing value for these people, obviously, but they're also bringing a lot of that just
Yep.
intrinsically from being driven and smart.
Yep.
Really, there's the other party that you're boosting significantly is um, the companies that go on to hire them. I mean, the Paradigms, the Uniswaps, and whoever is soaking up this talent that you're generating. It would almost be cool to get to a point where these Web3 companies that have already made it essentially are recognizing the value, and are throwing in to help support that pipeline. Have you had any talks like that with
We
people besides
definitely like are thinking
Foundation?
partnerships, but
Yeah.
the at the level of grant funding that we're getting from the EF and Optimism, we're running fine on that. Like we
Sure.
need more, of course. Like I need to the more money I have to deploy, the better I'm going to be at it. So I do need to do probably more partnerships. It just hasn't been. It's just not something I'm good at. I'm not good at like reaching out and making a partnership with a bunch of people. So it's just not something I've pursued a bunch, but it definitely would be better. And I think that like I could even reach out to a handful of people that have already hired Build Guild members and be like, "Yo, you
Hmm.
hired this guy. How about you?" The way that I've seen the best collabs work recently is one of these cohort streams where Aztec comes to me and says, "We want more ZK developers working on this thing, and I want to see more developers working on Scaffold ETH." So we build a cohort stream where we each YOLO in 3 ETH, and with that 6 ETH, we add a bunch of people to this stream and let them, and we give them some directive. You use Scaffold ETH to build ZK tools with this Aztec thing. Go. And then we just add people and they withdraw from their streams as they work on things. And this is a really good way a really good light way to collab with anybody, right?
Hmm.
So if it's like Chainlink and they want to see more people building on VRF, this is probably like, example from a year and a half ago, but then they could coordinate with me where they throw in some, I throw in some, we throw some developers that are interested at it, and we just kind of openly stream to them to work on this kind of open initiative. So that's the collab that kind of maybe that'll be my foot in the door. I'll get these collabs that are small, and then I'll try to work up to, hey, how about like could you give $100,000 now to us, and we'll show you where that goes. It's all on chain. We'll receive it, and most of it's going to go out the door to developers, and you can see what the developers built for that. So I feel like eventually we could probably get more partners and a bigger stream of funding coming in and going out.
Do you aspire to turn Build Guild into something that could continue achieving its goal without you if you were to completely detach, or do you see yourself as kind of like an inseparable part
It's
of
funny
what
because
it is?
we keep talking about that. Like, okay, how do we get it so Austin's not, the blocker on this? And we've done it a lot in terms of our system. Like the build guild itself is more of a piece of software than anybody. It's a bunch of set of smart contracts. There's a
Mhm.
DAO. The humans all vote. Then the DAO votes to fill these streams and these cohorts. And there's a couple other guys that are helping me that are kind of orchestrating a lot of those transactions. A lot of times I'm just coming in and signing it and executing it just because I'm the specific person. That could be anybody that's executing that. But every time we start talking about like, well, so what is Build Guild? What do we want it to be? How do we make it not Austin? there always seems to be this like, okay, but Austin needs to go do this thing. And it kind of like still ends up being me having kind of the personality, I guess. But I would like for that to not be, but if that's how it works, that's how it works for now. I would love for this to really be like an autonomous organization that has, these metrics, and it's mostly all on chain, and it's basically just kind of humans giving it some oversight, but overall it's more like a committee of 11 people are voting to refill a cohort, and they're looking at the cohort and they're streaming through and seeing, okay, we put in 3 ETH and they built all these things. Do we continue to fund this cohort? And if that committee of people says yes, then that could all that funding can flow without me having to touch anything. There's still like mentorship and stuff I do that's like, but that's not like high leverage stuff. That's like one-on-one kind of low leverage, but good-hearted, I guess. So I guess I would love to get to the point where it does run like a well-oiled machine, but right now I feel like there's a lot of personality still involved, and I think I fill that role for now. But I'd rather not eventually.
I think the personal, and sorry, Kenny, I see you starting, so I'll wrap this up. I think the personal mentoring might be higher leverage than it intuitively seems, because like look at someone like Viraz, he went through that experience, he worked with you, he developed his skills, and that creates this like big bloom effect where the word is spread about the quality of this program. You get like acolytes, and we all know like people who want to share alike, when they have some experience, is such a big part of how things become mainstream in Web3. So, even if you're only able to talk to, 3, 5, 10 people a month, you're creating people who I feel like are so much more passionate than if they were to just, watch a YouTube video or what have you. At least that's my initial thought. I haven't
There's
not done
definitely
it.
like a couple guys more recently that have gotten more fired up. And it's
Yeah.
been like maybe they were async and learning, but the fact that we met in Paris or we talked for a while, then they started hitting me up with, okay, I got this build, I got this build, I got this build. So I definitely do think it's at least a catalyst for bigger
Yeah.
things.
Kenny.
Well, one thing I admire like Vitalik for is how he was able to, on the one hand, like step away from like Ethereum and really being like the guy, and sort of really turning it into like a community run, community driven project and protocol, while at the same time staying very engaged and lending all of his and insight and charisma into the Ethereum space. And I think it's kind of a model that probably everyone should look towards as they build like these Web3 institutions. Because on the one hand, like I'm sure Buildguild would love to be decentralized and not be like dependent on Austin for its success. On the other hand, like when you bring so much like passion, enthusiasm, exactly, and knowledge, and Buildguild wouldn't be Buildguild without Austin. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to do it, but that does seem kind of like something that somehow Vitalik was able to pull it off, and maybe I think you can too.
I need to find the Danny Ryan of the Build Guild. I guess there's a lot, but like we could, if we were listing amazing core devs that took the weight off of Vitalik's shoulders, it would be like 10 or 15 amazing humans with, giga brains for sure. Well, thank you guys for having me. This has been fun. It's a
Man.
chance for me to shill myself too. So I love the shill session.
No, it's Kenny and I always say it's so indulgent for us because a lot of people we have on this podcast, are people who you would love to just get in a room with and just chit chat, over coffee or whatever.
And you have the
And people are
excuse.
busy and they
You can
don't
do it.
necessarily have
Yeah.
that luxury, but you turn it into a show where, you have like a few hundred, a few thousand other people being able to tune in, and all of a sudden you get to have these conversations. So it's a real pleasure for us to have you
Thank you.
on. Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed, this was it was as fun for us to hear you shill as it was perhaps for you to do the shilling. And I
Awesome.
guess you're probably quite accessible compared to the average DeFi builder. But yeah, for us, like a big reason why we do these podcasts is it's a great excuse to like get people to talk to us that we think are really interesting. Um, Somehow he's like, hey, like, are you free for like a 45-minute video chat? People are like, I don't know. I don't know who you are. We're like, hey, you want to come on
Yeah.
to our podcast? People are like, oh, heck yeah. And so
Cool.
it's been a real pleasure
I
having you
I,
on,
I do
getting
have a
to hear from you
question
directly.
that's been burning. Are you in a real office?
Oh yeah, this is the Build Guild office. Yeah. So I have three kids, and so my house has become increasingly loud. And so I was like,
Right.
I gotta find a spot. So I just found this like little cubicle area office here, a nice quiet spot in Fort Collins, and it's
Nice.
yeah, it's the official Build Guild office now, I think.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, well, as we said, it was wonderful having you on, Matt, and would love to have you on again sometime next time you have something to share with the community. Um, any other
For
closing
sure.
words, guys? Yeah. Okay, well,
Well,
I guess we'll get to the veggies and do this shell update. But yeah, we'll see you around, man.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having.
me.
yeah.
All right.
For
I'm gonna
sure.
head out. See you guys. Thank you.
Adios. Oh, and now we're all vertical. Look at that. Um, hey y'all.
What's up,
Nope.
shellers?
Let's see. Oh, Kim is here. Hi, Kim. It's so late for you. How's everything? How are the cats? Well, I think we're on like a 20-second delay.
Oh,
But yeah, this is our first mind melt since people tried to steal our Twitter. The
well,
good news is they
they
don't.
succeeded. Well, I don't think it was a try. I think it was a success. Well, for them.
Yeah, I guess successfully stole our Twitter. They don't currently have control of the Twitter though, as far as we can tell. So,
No, I think they still have control over my personal Twitter, unfortunately. I'm just trying to get the shell Twitter back first. Um,
um, but it's just sort of in like an X limbo right now.
we have a couple of ins. I'm working on getting another in to someone who works at Twitter, hopefully. And yeah, we're basically like one email away from getting the count back. They basically, the Twitter support, after many days and weeks of prodding, finally sent me an email saying, okay, who do you want to control this account? Just tell us the email address. And I did that. And that was a week and that was like 8 days ago. Um, I haven't heard back yet. That was like right when the X thing was starting. And I don't know. I think one thing I want to say and emphasize is that just really, really sorry to the community that this happened. Um, our OPSEC needs to improve. You know, uh, they were. I don't want. Our OPSEC needs to improve, and it will improve. We've hired an OPSEC consultant to sort of work full time, part time on improving how we go about these things. And uh, it's not just us. It's this these types of hacks have been happening all across the Web3
Yep.
space last couple of months. I think Hayden got hacked. Zerion got hacked. A bunch of
Yeah,
small,
Hayden
medium.
got hacked pretty much like the exact same way. And I thought it was so insidious what they did, but it was brilliant. It was brilliantly evil. After they posted their initial phishing link, they posted a follow-up that was like, this account has been compromised. Do not interact. Use this link to revoke your transactions. And the revoke link was like a fake revoke that was also a drainer.
It, yeah, it's pretty awful,
Yeah.
pretty sad. Um, and I mean, this is one thing I've observed about the Web3 space over the years is that like every time people build something, the hackers come and sort of take it apart, and then it gets rebuilt even stronger, and then the hackers come and find a new flaw and take it apart, and then it gets rebuilt even stronger. It's sort of like this like arms race where every year the hackers get better, but also the security gets better. And I think the end result is that the resilience of these Web3 systems in the 10 years from now is going to be extremely high. I think just because it's such an intense competition between the hackers and the projects that it's sort of like how our immune systems, like we think that human beings over the last 10,000 years have evolved to be more intelligent, more whatever. Really, no, we just evolved the last 10,000 years to have better immune systems because the viruses and bacteria are just so intense. And I think that's kind of how DeFi and Web3 seems to be going. And yeah, we're going to be even stronger and more resilient after this. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, again, my apologies to the community that this happened.
I think it just, we've put so much care into our smart contract security. Um, and I think that has been, knock on wood, a great success. And it's the time that we've taken to check our work and do these audits and everything has paid off. And I think we owe it to ourselves for the work we put into the contracts, but also to the community, obviously, to be as diligent with, social attack vectors, Web2 attack vectors as well. Um,
Yeah, I agree. And I think, yeah, and I think that we have a community vote going on now of whether we should um, try and compensate the people that lost funds through that Twitter hack.
yeah,
And
it,
the compensation would come in the form of crabs. Uh, in terms of why are we giving offering to give ETH out there? Well, we're a pretty small startup. We can't really afford it. I guess it's sort of in a bear market, runway is pretty existential, and
yeah, yeah,
I think ultimately the most expensive form of capital is capital that's given to small startups. And I think as much as I would love to use this capital to make people whole, I think we owe it to our investors, we owe it to community liquidity providers to build something that's going to have value. And I think the way to maximize the chance of success is to really be disciplined with the limited capital that we currently have. With that said, I do think it's worth putting on the table the possibility of giving people crabs. Um,
in all seriousness.
yeah. When we
Yeah,
came up with
I
that
agree,
joke, we
Kenny. I
didn't
think
mean to use it in this context.
if we're like fulfilling our mission, one would hope that runway that is applied to developing the protocol and supporting the token price just by virtue of building a good ecosystem and product would arguably do more for people in the long run, as far as providing value, than just handing it out. Um, so I think the calculus does make sense, taking the assumption that we're continuing to build, as hard as we can with everything we've got. It does look like that vote is going to fail right now. Of course, things can always change. There are some people that hold, nearly double-digit percentages of the total crabs who could sway the vote, or there could just be a populist upswell as well. But it's an interesting discussion. I've been reading everything that everyone's been saying in the Discord the past 24 hours. There are good points on both sides, and ultimately, the reason we made this a vote is because we believe in the shell community and its ability to make good decisions for the future of the protocol. And one reason why crabs are the method of voting is because the incentives become very aligned with the health of the protocol and the future value of these crabs. So if you guys decide not to do it, that doesn't change anything for us besides that we will continue recovering the Twitter, building everything just as we have. Do we want to run through some of the stuff we have in the works, guys?
Yeah, I think one thing I want to just say is personally, I think I'm mostly in favor of using crabs to compensate people, but the thing is like I feel like crabs aren't really ours to give. Um, it's they're as much it is much our jurisdiction as the core team as it is like the rest of the communities, and I think that's ultimately why we're making this a community decision because I think it's the community's decision to make, and whatever passes is what we're gonna do.
Yep. So yeah, quick update on development. I guess you guys are better equipped to talk about evolving Proteus than me since you're on the front lines.
Yeah, Viraz, not to put you on the spot, Viraz. I'm happy to answer this question, but evolving Proteus, where are we at?
Yeah, I think so. We're pretty much at the final stages. We're just like wrapping up the documentation, reviewing everything before we start go for an audit. So yeah, it's gonna happen pretty soon. The audit's gonna be for a week, and then yeah, and then we'll proceed to launch based on the results from the audit. So yeah, I think the audit should happen in max like 2 weeks from now. So hopefully, yeah, it happens then. And yeah, we are pretty much in the final stages, like I said, just reviewing every like all the documentation stuff and making sure that it's pretty well documented in terms of people trying to just trying to find bugs or whatever and going through the process. So yep.
And a little review for everybody. Evolving Proteus is a more capable version of the Proteus AMM engine that we already launched. It fulfills our original intention, which was to have this very highly mutable and specific bonding curve that can actually shift from one shape to another over time, which in effect allows us to do so many things. You can in effect sell a token, like do a bootstrapping type thing. You can also just follow the current exchange rate of a token, say like ETH moons. If you can change the shape of the curve, then you can adjust the concentration of the liquidity to stay competitive. There are probably other things it can do that I'm missing, Kenny. Those are the two that come to mind for me.
Yeah, I would say it's sort of like a hybrid between balancers, liquidity bootstrapping pools, and Uniswap v3. So it lets you concentrate liquidity and have that concentration, change incrementally every block. And so that lets us do things like Cairo said, like auction off new tokens. So if you want to do a liquidity bootstrapping pool, either for a new governance token or even a new non-fungible token collection, this is something that you can use and deploy. And on top of that, like Cairo was saying, you can use this for like auto updating pools. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. One is if you have like a managed pool, if there's like a party that you somewhat trust to adjust liquidity concentrations competitively. That's something you can do. Viraz and I are also working on, I guess you could call it, we call it internally like premium pools. And I don't know how much to talk about it, but basically, if we design it right, and it's a bit experimental and it might not work the way we expect, but if it does work the way we expect, it'll effectively let you, I guess the way to describe it is when you're a passive liquidity provider, what you have is capital. What you lack is like knowledge and speed, knowledge of what's happening in the market, like minute to minute, and the speed to like respond to it every block. And when you're like an arbitrage bot or an MEV bot, what you have is knowledge and speed, and the ability to react to the market every block. What you maybe perhaps lack is capital. And so the idea of these premium pools is there a way we can have, right now, there's kind of like this opposition between passive LPs and these like MEV bots. And is there where like, passive LPs lose, MEV bots win? Is there a way to combine their like respective skill sets, competencies, comparative advantage and have them cooperate instead of compete? And that's like the concept behind a premium pool. I don't want to give it away, but it should be cool, and it's going to be used using Evolving Proteus or a modified version of Evolving Proteus. We'll have to add more stuff to it, but the core algorithm will remain the same.
Yeah, and that'll also probably be those will be quota limited at first. So the same quotas that you used to access the regular Proteus pools when they were new will be used to gain access to those premium pools, which should be cool, and allow people to responsibly participate, without aping in like millions of dollars. We're also reworking multipliers for shell points. We have this new system that should allow us to there's a few different ways to explain it, but basically target certain TVLs for different shell native tokens or pools. So, if the TVL dips in a specific pool, the same number of shell points is being given out to those pool LPs, which in effect means you're getting more points per dollar when the pool balance is low, or fewer if the pool balance gets very high in proportion to the rest of the shell ecosystem. So that ideally will help balance everything out and keep the liquidity where it's going to go, and be most useful for trades, which in turn will lead to more fees for everybody, is the goal. So that is pretty much done. We're going to be trying that out. Probably start with toucans and toucoin, because those are like the experimental vanguards for most things that we try. And if it goes well with them, we will roll that out to other pools as well.
Yep. And we're also getting really close to finishing the not the shell DAO. We're still working on the shell DAO per se, but there's going to be a specific lockup mechanic. I think we've talked about it on a Mindmeld live. The last Mindmeld live, we may have talked about the lockup mechanics and
yeah, a little
posted about it I think on Discord a couple of times. We haven't made any official announcements because we're still kind of making sure that we've got the details right. The last thing we want to do is release something in a blog post and then realize we have to change it, because that's bad for two reasons. First is I think people should be able to reasonably count on our word about how things are going to be. Not that we'll never change our minds, but people should have a certain level of consistency. And on top of that, it's you'd be surprised how hard it is to remove misconception that someone has once they get it. So if we say X and then it turns out to be
It's, you know,
Y, half the
it's hard
people are
enough.
going to think it's going to be X like months after the fact. And so I really want to avoid that. If anyone is desperate to know like how we're thinking about it, like happy to talk informally on Discord about where our heads are at and like what it's looking like, but reluctant to put this as like a blog post. But once we have the lockup mechanic dialed in and we're kind of making our way through the shell DAO, focusing more on the shell DAO implementation, that's I think roughly when tokenomics part 3 will come out. And yeah, I think the shell DAO, it's not going to have too it's not going to be too bespoke or too unique. I think it's going to be somewhat, I don't know, Viraz, is this true? Is shell DAO going to be somewhat boilerplate, or is it going to be pretty different from?
Well, you never know, right? But yeah, I mean, there would be, I think,
I
some
know.
aspects of it that would be probably be not like unique, but yeah, there would be some aspects that would be customized, of course. So yeah, it would be probably a mix of both, I would say.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's safe to say, but between the two, the lockup mechanics are a lot more unique than the shell DAO.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the state, and I think yeah, I know it's from the outside looking in, when there's no tweets happening at sometimes or X's happening, sometimes it feels like it's just like the core team is gone. But this has happened a lot where we'll just be
Guys,
building.
I also feel your pain. My desire to X publicly uh, for your enjoyment has not been filled in weeks, and I just it's very pent up. So hopefully we'll get back to
makes me
Xing
think that
regularly.
makes me think that we should start looking into and cultivating a presence on other platforms. I think it'll be a
Yeah,
lot easier to do that once we have our X Twitter account back, because then we can like direct people to these new accounts en masse. But
I also think you do have to go where the people are, and in my experience, the people in Web3 are on Discord and on Twitter or X. If you guys are all secretly hanging out somewhere else and I don't know about it, I guess Telegram is the third one. There's a shell Telegram. It's a bit of anarchy zone right now. So
thank you, Kim and others for helping
yes.
monitor the Telegram.
Um, but if there's if we all decide to go to threads, for example, we'll see you there. Yeah. And to your point, Kenny, yeah, I mean I think it's almost impossible to correct people's perceptions about something that we didn't ever actually say. So I think correcting their perceptions of something we actually did say at one point would be that much harder. But luckily we have, I think, venues like this where we can float things a little more casually, and Discord it, etc., etc. Do we still feel good about TGE and the things we said in tokenomics part 1 and 2? Any major updates to the substance of those blog posts?
I feel pretty good about them. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about TG, and the Q3 was always like it was always the goal. It feels like, when does Q3 end, on September? Yeah,
Yeah, it would be 789, right? It's the end of September.
yeah, that might be. We said probably. I think as I recall, we said probably, hopefully Q3. And so yeah, probably. Let's just sort of decrease the probably and increase the hopefully on Q3. But I think we're making pretty good progress. Um,
Fire.
I think we're making pretty good progress. Let's see here. Andy, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are the odds that Shell Protocol and Crab Shell token ends up not coming to fruition due to funding, workers, regulatory, general loss of steam?
Oh,
Uh,
thanks, man.
is a 1 like that we will do TGE, or is a 10 that we won't do? Is 1 that we won't do TGE, or is 1 that we will do TGE?
Let's just say that 0 is it's definitely coming out, and 10 is it will never come out. That's a
I
bit
would say it's like
unintuitive.
a 0.01.
Yeah, I would say short of like some like freak volcano disaster, like eliminating the entire team, uh, we're probably, I mean, I can't see any way that we don't uh, have the token come out.
Yeah, I can tell you that it might feel like there's a loss of steam publicly in the community, and I think from the community level there has been a loss of steam just because like Twitter and social media is so integral into the community vibe. But I can tell you internally at Calorie Labs, we're, if anything, been working harder since the Twitter hack because there's been less like other things to distract us.
Yeah, I would say like let's just be real. The Twitter hack blows. Like it really sucks. It's one of the worst things that's happened to the protocol in our existence, which is kind of fortunate because I know a lot of projects that have had way worse things than that happen. So the fact that this is like one of the worst is kind of good. But it's not like an existential risk or even like a course changer for the protocol. You know, as Kenny said, we're putting more resources into OPSEC on the social and the Web2 front. You know, really getting our ship in shape. But everything about the code, the design philosophy, the DAO design, the tokenomics, the incentives, um, is still completely sound and still proceeding as planned.
I think it's in some ways a bullish sign for Web3 in general that now like the weakest point in Web3 is the Web2 component. Um, because it
I
used to
mean,
not be that case. It used
I'd
to be
say
like a lot
in this case it
easier
was
to,
your cell provider, right? That's not even Web 2. That's like
it's like Web 0, I
Web
guess.
0. Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically freaking T-Mobile. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
wonder like how much effort I wonder how much effort they put into pretending to be you. Like did they try and like do your voice? You know, did they watch the mind meld? Did they do like an AI Kenny? You know?
they might. I mean, I hear you can do that. It's
I hear
not
you can
so.
do that too. Hackers, if you do have an AI Kenny voice, send it to me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, we would use that for our own internal fun. Um, that would be kind of
Um,
cool. If anyone, not just hackers, just white hats or black hats or anyone, if you have like AI Kenny voice or AI Cairo voice or any kind of like AI impersonation of anyone on Shell, that'd be kind of cool for us to play around with.
all right, I think we're scraping the bottom of the update here. Anything else either of you, Viraz or Kenny, want to add before we sign off?
Um, I think Andy's still typing. Um,
Any
any
plans
plans
for
for
IRL
IRL
events?
events? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Andy's on the Big Island, I believe.
Oh, ooh, Andy, if you open a help ticket and at me, and we'll see what we can do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
open a ticket, Andy.
we really should do an in-person event. I think I'm not really an event planner. You don't want me doing event planning. I think that's sort of the main limitation is that if we did an in-person event here in Hawaii, it would require me to do event planning, and that's a bit of a bottleneck. But yeah, I know we told you, Andy, that we would do it. We will do it. open a help ticket and at me, and we can brainstorm.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're here after the fact, thanks for tuning in late. This content is hopefully evergreen or humorously ironic in light of future events that have not yet come to pass, one or the other. But yeah, follow along live next time. You can ask us questions on our Discord in the Mindmeld chat channel. And stick around.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.